Hey guys, Brian here from LCS. Thanks for stopping by the channel and this video. Amazing Spider-Man. Not so amazing. So, what I plan on doing is reviewing the current run of Amazing Spider-Man. And not just a single book, but all books, right? So, um, I have just finished up reading. So, I wasn't, as I was collecting the series, I wasn't always reading the latest books. So, over the last couple weeks, I caught up on all of the reading. So here is the latest issue number 71. So basically went through the entire series and caught up. And so now I figured, now would be a great time to do a review. Got my, Spider-Man shirt on. So I figured, this would be a good time to give you my thoughts on The Amazing Spider-Man. So I have a long history with Spider-Man. Um, I don't know, he was probably 4 or 5 years old when I discovered him. And growing up in New York, having a character, a teenager from, Queens, I connected with that right away. I knew where Queens was. I knew it was very close to where I lived. And so, I remember thinking like, wow, there's Spider-Man is swinging around New York City, the skyscrapers of New York City as a young kid, I believed it. I believe he was real. He was out there, saving the world. So, that's how I got hooked on him very early on. Um, and I had a bunch of different experiences as a young kid. I remember going to J.C. Penney's. They had a breakfast with Spider-Man at J.C. Penney's. Why J.C. Penney's? I have no idea. I guess maybe back in the day, department stores, J.C. Penney's had a toy section, so maybe that was the connection. But I remember going there probably at 5 or 6 years old, and it was up in like the employee like break area, I guess. That's where they had the breakfast, and it was like a two-story building, so it was up, it was definitely on the second floor, and there were some windows. And I remember thinking like, how is Spider-Man going to enter the room? Is he going to come through the window? I think he just actually walked through the door, but that was my thought. Like, wow, where's he going to come from? I won. They were giving away some raffles. I won an Amazing Spider-Man poster signed that I had up on my wall for years. I remember going to, probably a couple of years later, I remember going to Playworld. Playworld was a toy store similar to Toys R Us, but I think Playworld was only on like the Northeast. Um, and I remember going there to see Spider-Man. My dad took me one day, after school, and I think they were promoting some new toy, and Spider-Man was going to be there, and there was going to be a villain that was going to show up. And so, as you know, we were kind of waiting to, for Spider-Man to arrive. This woman walks up to me and asks me if I wanted to be involved in the show, with Spider-Man. I said, sure. And she said, well, can you, if when you see Spider-Man, if you see any danger coming his way, can you just yell out to Spider-Man, to watch out? And I looked at the woman. I was like, he's got spider sense. There's no reason for me to be yelling at Spider-Man. He's gonna know something's going on before it even happens. So she was a little taken back by that, but I believed. I was into it. I thought, he was going to be able to, sense that the Green Goblin was sneaking up on him, and that's actually what happened. The Green Goblin, came out of one toy aisle and went after Spider-Man, and I eventually did, with my dad kind of coaching me on, yelled, to Spider-Man to look out, and he got, was aware before the Green Goblin got him. So, like, I have a long history with Spider-Man. He's always been my favorite character. And like I said, I think it's just really that connection that I had, living in close proximity to where where he lived and where his storyline kind of took place. So let's get to the review, right? So I read through the entire series, and this is really the first time I've consistently read Spider-Man since the late '80s or mid '80s to like the early '90s. I read probably from issue 230 to about 350. So a lot of great content. Secret Wars happened in there. The Black Suit, Venom, the whole Craven storyline that a lot of people think is one of the really best Spider-Man storylines. So this series that started in 2018, I'm a little disappointed in the current series, right? So the book, the first issue kind of opens up, and Spider-Man is rooming with Boomerang, a reformed, supervillain, which is really weird that he's rooming with a villain. And he kind of buddies up with him for a number of storylines. They visit the Bar with No Name, and the Bar with No Name, if you're not familiar, is a bar in the Marvel universe that it's like a pop-up bar that villains go to unwind. And Spider-Man ends up going there with Boomerang. Well, Peter Parker goes there. He's not Spider-Man. And and there's like a Spider-Man trivia night, and of course Peter and Boomerang win the contest. But this happened throughout a lot of the issues. There was reference to Peter Parker being like Spider-Man's confidant, his go-to guy. If you need to get a word to Spider-Man, you go through Peter. And there's many times that Peter disappears and then Spider-Man appears, but nobody ever puts these things together, which is just it's such a glaring like hole in the story. Like I don't understand how they continue to try to get away with that. Where it's known that if you want to get to Spider-Man, you got to go through Peter Parker, and they're never seen together, and there's that whole story element that just it makes no sense, right? And then around, I think it was issue 60 or 61 of the series, a new costume appeared. He Spider-Man dons a new costume, and it's around for a few storylines, a few issues, and then poof, it's gone. And there was very little explanation with what happened with the suit. He gets the suit originally by teaming up with J. Jonah Jameson for like a TMZ type news organization, and they want to do first person filming of Spider-Man, and so that's why they give him this new costume. It gives him the ability to kind of broadcast live right from his costume when he's out fighting crime. So it's really weird, but it shows up for a couple episodes and then it's gone. A couple issues and then it's gone. So it really felt like a costume grab, like let's sell some more books type thing. It was just really, really strange. And then at one point in the storyline, Spider-Man and Boomerang adopt Gog, who's an alien as their pet. And he's been, throughout the Amazing Spider-Man storyline, he's, come in and out. He's here again. And, Boomerang basically falls in love with him like, oh, wow, he's so cute. He's such a great pet. And then they keep him at their house as a pet, which is, look, I get it. Comic books, storylines, people come back from the dead. There's all kinds of craziness, but this just was really strange where they adopted this alien as their pet. And then at one point they couldn't watch him. So they drop him off with Mary Jane. And then it's like never really explained what happens, to him yet. So, and I get it, right? I know storylines, weave in and out. There's the A storyline, the B storyline, different storylines that, come back. They may drop off for a period of, a few issues and then, resurface. So I get that. And then this series also introduced a new villain, the Kindred. And it's been the slowest reveal I have ever seen. I mean, it starts early in the series and is still going on in, issue 71. It is, he's on the cover here. So, and the writer, Nick Spencer, is wrapping up his run at issue number 74. So I'm hoping that the storyline comes to some conclusion, or we get some big reveal and really understand the complete story behind Kindred, because it's really, like I said, it's been such a slow burn. It just to drag it out over 70 plus issues really seems, um, it just seems like I don't know if they don't have a fleshed out storyline and they just don't know what to do with it, or it just seems like such a slow, long burn for this storyline. So I'm hoping that it we get the full reveal, um, very soon. I'm assuming before Spencer wraps up his run. And look, I get it. Spider-Man has been around for almost 60 years, right? The character, storytelling, there's been so many different series, Web, Spectacular, Ultimate. There's been so many different um, storylines and books. And, similar to like, a Batman or a Superman, they rehash storylines or bring back characters. I get it. It's tough to be original and fresh with a character who has such a long history. But I it just feels, this series feels very just like recycled. Like, Kindred's new, I get that. But the way they're handling it, I don't think is the best. But they're recycling, all of some of the classic villains, which I get. But what's the Vulture now? Vulture's got to be like, he's got to be about 100 years old now. I mean, um, it just seems like they just keep, recycling similar storylines. Um, and the other thing too is like, when Peter first started, when he first became Spider-Man, he was still in high school, and now he's like in his mid 20s, and he hasn't learned anything. Like, he hasn't learned from his past mistakes. He's still broke. He still, makes mistakes. And I get it. At Peter Parker's core, his priorities are being good, saving people. With great power comes great responsibility. I get it. But you would think there would be a little bit of shift after all these years of balancing Spider-Man and Pete and being Peter Parker, that he would be able to figure some things out and have better balance in his in his character. It almost feels like it's not an adult story, that it's just like he just keeps repeating the same mistakes over and over again. So I don't know, that I just and I've had a long break. Like I said, I read a number of years, way back when in the 80s, and now this is really the first time I'm consistently reading books again, Spider-Man books again. But it feels recycled. It feels stale. I mean, I guess that's really the best way I could describe this current run. So they did announce that Nick Spencer and the team that's been currently working on the one through 74. That's when the run ends for Nick Spencer, the current writer. They're going to bring in a whole new team, and I'm excited about that. Right, some fresh blood, maybe some fresh ideas for the series and for the character. But then I find out that they're moving from publishing twice a month to now 3 times a month once the new team comes on. So I think it's like in September. So a storyline that feels stale, and recycled, is now going to increase the amount of content that they're pushing out. Now, look, I get it from a business standpoint, right? I'm sure I know Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, is one of the top sellers for Marvel. I've looked at some numbers. I know the Amazing Spider-Man is usually always in like the top 5 issues sold, per month. So, I mean, I get it, but if the storyline is been stale or just not headed in the right direction, why would you want to add more to that? Why would you now publish 3 times a month, 36 issues a year, when you want to pump the brakes on this and figure out where you want to go with it, and slow down instead, quality over quantity, so I don't understand that. So I'm fearful that the new teams that's taking over, and it's actually a number of writers, I believe, because they're publishing it so frequently. I mean, that's like an issue every 10 days, right? So um, I'm just fearful that they're going to continue to mess it up because they are just, trying to push out, issues, and the storyline is just going to suffer from that, I think. Now, I could be totally wrong. I'll wait and see, but I really would have liked them to, add the new team and maybe, take a step back, maybe publish only once a month and start to really build, a solid storyline and then maybe increase it. But again, I'm sure it's a, dollar sign business decision that's driving that. So I just think, three issues per month are really just going to muddy the storyline even more. So we'll see. I'm hopeful that the new story will be good. The artwork overall is pretty good. There's some great covers throughout, but the story just was not fully there for me. It just didn't feel. It just felt. Like I said, stale. I think stale is the best, and stale and recycled. I think and I get it. I understand it's tough to be original, but we've seen some other storylines. I know a lot of people are talking about the Batman storyline right now. There's been some new energy injected into that series, and Batman's older than Spider-Man, right? So, and even Superman. I've heard some good things about some of the Superman storylines recently. So it can be done. I'm just hopeful that the new team at Marvel will be able to accomplish that because, um, you know, as a Spider-Man fan, I'm still going to pick up the books. I'll buy them. I don't think I would ever just say I'm not going to buy, a Spider-Man book. He's just too big of, a favorite character for me to do that. But it's at points the storylines in the current series just really have not been enjoyable. So I'm hopeful, fingers crossed that they'll get it right. But there's that little doubt in the back of my head with the amount of stories and issues that they're going to be pumping out each month and every year. So we'll see. So what do you guys think? Are you reading Amazing Spider-Man? I've heard a lot of people make comments like they've dropped it because they weren't happy with the storyline. So I'd love to hear your comments. Let me know what you think about the current series, or what was the favorite. If you've been reading Spider-Man for a while, what is your favorite Spider-Man storyline? That would be love to hear that. So yep, I'm hopeful. And I do plan to once there's a couple issues in of the new series or the new team taking over, that I'll do another review, kind of give you my feedback and my opinion on where it's headed, and hopefully it's, like I said, in a good direction, but we'll see. So that's it. Yeah. Love to hear your comments. Again, thanks everyone who's been watching the channel, helping it grow. I'm somewhere over 225 subscribers, which is amazing. No pun intended. Thank you for everybody, for the support, the likes, the comments. I do appreciate that. I know our time is valuable, and taking some time out to watch a video. I'm getting sucked into a ton of channels on YouTube in the comic book community. So I get it. Your time and your eyeballs are valuable time spent. So I do appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. So thanks very much, and watch out soon. Later this year for my update on the Amazing Spider-Man. Thanks, guys.